Affordable housing is an issue Channel 9 has been dedicated to covering, and I'd like to welcome to the studio today Mike Kinsella with Up for Growth. First, I want to talk about what it is Up for Growth does and why you have been focused on the city of Charlotte.
Absolutely. Well, Up for Growth is a national DC-based organization that's focused on housing affordability. As you know, here in Charlotte, rents have been on the rise. There's a lot of people moving to Charlotte, I think well over 100,000 over the next 10 years or so. And so the issue of how do communities grow equitably, how do we grow with enough housing that's affordable to all, is the critical question that Up for Growth is focused on addressing.
You have created what you're calling an affordability calculator, and you focused on Seattle first.
That's right.
Now the Charlotte market was the second one for you to do this really deep dive into. Why Charlotte?
Yeah.
And what have you found?
Yeah, so Charlotte, just at a big picture, has, like I said earlier, really experienced a significant run-up in rents. To the point where today over 40% of renter households in Charlotte pay more than 30% of their gross paycheck on rent. So it's becoming a significant issue. That, coupled with a significant influx of population, really makes Charlotte a place where we felt it would be valuable to deliver a tool that really looks at policy and how do you make sure that as your community grows, you can grow more affordably.
It's pretty interesting because we talk a lot about this subject and we hear it often from the people who are impacted, those who are struggling to pay the rent, but we don't really talk in detail about why the rent costs so much, and that's where the policy side of things come in.
Well,
so can you explain what are the policies that you're looking at and how do they impact what landlords charge?
Absolutely. Well, from a housing affordability perspective, policy historically has focused on funding. The Housing Trust Fund, the Affordable Housing Tax Credit. And while those tools are essential resources for deeply affordable housing, they don't necessarily get at the affordability of the housing market overall. And so when we look at this calculator, what we're really looking at are what are all of the policies that intersect with the affordability of housing in any given community. So it's not just funding. We're really looking at things like zoning and restrictions on what can be built, particularly in areas that, for example, are transit served or job rich. We look at things like the policies related to permit issuance. And how many months does it take to go from an idea for an apartment building to delivery of an apartment building? And we also look at things like fees that are charged against new construction and where might be some areas where fees can be lowered to effectively make housing more affordable. Because at the end of the day, we want more builders to build housing that's needed and wanted in this community. And we know that you don't make housing more affordable by making construction housing more expensive. And so this is really a tool aimed at policymakers to help them understand different scenarios, different policies that they can craft to ultimately bring about more abundant housing in a growing community like Charlotte.
It was interesting that you noted in your research that just shrinking the window of time it takes for a developer to get permits could in the end reduce the amount of monthly rent they're charging people.
Absolutely. There are more developers, more home builders that are ready to put shovels in the ground and bring new homes to bear than there are projects being built right now. And part of that is the uncertainty and the unpredictability in the development process. And so by shortening that time frame or making building permissions more certain, what our research found is that more housing can be built, and that housing can be more expensive because there's simply more supply available.
And you're hoping that this is a tool, this calculator is a tool that our city leaders can use, our county leaders can use, as they work to identify what can be done on their end to alleviate this struggle for so many families.
Absolutely, and the City of Charlotte leadership is already ahead of the curve. We know in 2019 the city moved towards some policy that actually increased allowable heights and unit densities along the Blue Line light rail corridor. And what the calculator found is that that decision by itself is going to result in the reduction of the rent per month for apartments in these areas to the tune of about $70 per apartment per month, which is significant.
Right, when you add that up for a family, every dollar counts.
Absolutely.
Mike Kinsella, thank you for being here, and we appreciate the work you've done.
Thank you for the opportunity.